This is your daily market review for Monday, November 13th, 2023. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka The Trading Agent. This is your daily market review, Monday, November 13th, 2023. Hopefully you're doing well. Again, another interesting day. OPEX, CHOPEX, as they call it. Are you surprised that you get this debt downgrade on a Friday after the close? And then you come into a Monday down, and then we chop around to flat. Some things up, some things down. Overall, another choppy day for CHOPEX. Keep in mind, you have CPI tomorrow. You have Treasury budget talks. You got G coming in town to, I think, San Francisco. Correct me if I'm wrong, California. And guess what? You're going to have a lot going on. If you have any questions, again, please reach out. Do not be shy. This is not easy. People are like, oh, I think this is how it should play out. Be aware of all potential outcomes. We try to keep our mind clear of anything other than what we think will happen and doing the best to predict it. Probability-based game, not certainty. So posted a bunch of charts of things that I thought were interesting with the financials. Because again, I think financials are the ones who get left cleaning up, holding the bag in the situation, especially with you have people who have holding on to treasury debt that's yielding 1.5%, 0.5%. Who knows? And then there's European debt that's negative. Oh, it's just such garbage. New to the channel, want to join the Discord room, links description below. Please follow, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, please check out thetradingagent.com. Back to Basics Education Series from more beginner to advanced. Get your 5.4 Marcus account. Please use the link. Oh my God, it's easy money. It's so easy. The app is amazing. You better get your 5.4%. Once you play with it, you'll see how great it is. And also, too, if you're worried about your brokerage, telling you Interactive Brokers is the way to go. In my opinion, they're not going anywhere. Look, their stock, they're looking good. You will potentially get up to $1,000 worth of their own stock by signing up. How awesome is that? Also, follow on Twitter, posting what we see as importante. All right, let's get into it. Fed Watch Tool. Oops, let's hit the refresh button. Eat fresh, refresh, right? Isn't that the Subway saying? Still looking at May, at worst, potentially cut. So moving on. Bitcoin, channel high. Let me just make sure this is the most updated. Yeah, channel high, and keep that in mind. Oil, as we talked about, could be trapping and coming back up to test. Better hold these upper 70s. Natural gas, I don't even know why we talk about it. It's basically dead money for now. At some point, it will wake up, and we'll hopefully be there when it wakes up. All right. Okay. The dollar, chopping Rip Van Winkle on gas. Chopping. Trading range, talked about it. TLT, again, the debt downgrade. We rallied back today. Light volume. I'm not really surprised. I've said this, and I'm going to say it going on record. This could be the bottom, but it's going to be a choppy, sloppy mess. Again, I think that the yields on the bond market are going to be choppy. So again, if I'm late to the bond market game, that's fine. I don't think it's going to be simple. The VIX, talked about as a gift down here. Absolute gift. This is in my anticipation. Some pop down and then later higher. Again, Vivix, we talked about holding the levels, right? Holding the levels, as you might imagine, went pretty well so far. Not much to say. I mean, I'm kind of looking at it, getting dumbfounded. I don't know. It's just going to play out. SPY. This is where it gets interesting, right? We are at the channel, the trend line, whatever you want to call it, the 100-day. There's so many convergences up here. Let's see what happens here. Because, again, it's easy place to short with stops. QQQQ. Right? Could we get up to this upside? I mean, today's interesting. A doji. I mean, we've got a lot here. I mean, I don't trust this. I mean, keep in mind, look, you've got support, resistance. I mean, this gap fill, you're not far. You're not far from it. So do we have to touch it? No, we talk about sometimes gaps don't have to fill. Like, here you go. Here was one. You're like, oh, it's going to fit. Be on red alert. Remember, do not bring a ruler to trading because sometimes you will miss out. That's all I got to say. Just got to say that, all right? So, yeah. Qs. Qs. IWM. Getting distracted. Lagging, holding the 20 days. Some people are trying to argue that this is like the bottom, and I'm like, okay. It could be. Could be. DIA. I mean, I personally don't think so. It's leading down. It's acting like crap. Interesting action today. Filled the gap. Close enough for government work. I'd be watching that. The GLD, as we talked about, guess what? Gold's going to be choppy and sloppy. I don't think the Fed's a pivot. That's when we buy gold and silver. Again, just because they're a day's green doesn't mean it's like the trends change. I mean, maybe oversold. GDX, same kind of thing. They've been absolutely getting bludgeoned down. GDXJ, I don't even know why we talk about them because I don't think they're a buy yet. I mean, I guess if you wanted to short them, AG going nowhere, AEM chopping, but AEM looks better, right? Holding up. Newmont, get the hell out of town with this one. What is going on? Maybe that's the bottom. I don't know. The volume blowout. I mean, this doesn't make sense down here. I mean, it just, but again, neither the market doesn't have to make sense. And pass, leave it alone. All right, Taiwan Semi got the big update on Friday that they're still making some money. Sales were up, and again, year over year, people were getting so excited, and that's what they do. That's absolutely what they do, right? Like, they're going to get super excited. Yeah. I mean, so what do you see this and you go, All right, let's just watch the zone. Watch the zone. Micron, we talked about watching the zone, 75, 76. AMD, I was surprised this was red today. But then I'm like, no, maybe not. I mean, we're hitting some upper zones. Again, profit taking at worst. You know? Here you go. NVIDIA, this is where I got stopped out. This is what it is. So, again, could we go back to the high? That's where I was like, it's always possible. It's always possible. It's just hard to say. Like, I look at this, you know, when you look at it, like, think about it. You could argue they have earnings next week. Could it hold up? Again, I think there's easier trades. I thought it would reject. It probably will. But again, I went into Intel today when I was looking at shorts. I was like, all right, waiting for the pop. This one looks worse. It's had earnings. SMH. Here you go. I mean, yeah, double top doji inside day. Keep it simple, stupid. Adobe gets out of the channel, comes back into the channel with a little doge. I mean, this is where it's hard. This is ChopX. I don't know how to say this. Like, we could just talk about this and go, just ChopX. Be careful. Know your levels. Don't be surprised if things don't collapse right away. Don't be surprised if things play trap out. Apple, here we again talked about high volume highs, candles, like high volume candles, highs and lows of those candles become important. We'll see what happens here. You got another big candle volume. You've got this guy over here, which, again, it's a little above it. I'd be watching these mid-80s. Amazon, talked about it getting back up to the highs, chopping around. CRM, held up pretty well today, trying to break out, potentially. It's got, I don't know, you got the gap fill. You got this gap here. Yeah, OPEX, ChopEx. So like you said, some things were up, some things were down. Like, here you go. Here's Guggenheim, down a little bit, watching that 100-day. Meta, up a couple points, down. We'll see. I mean, it's chopping. Microsoft, been on fire, down $3. Nothing much. NDAQ, getting close to that channel. MicroStrategy, we talked about being slightly oversold. Watch. Like, this candle looks real ominous, y'all, because that could be a top. Keep an eye on it, and if it's not, it might go a little higher. Netflix, getting close to that 450 level to short. Keep it simple. Roblox, holding up pretty well. You know, they had their information, not pretty well, I guess. It gapped up, and now you've got a multi-day range at 37. It has to hold the 37s or it's going to get burned. Tesla had some good news about, I think, China charging stations. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where either you have to short up here or don't. And now it's breaking the 20-day. We've seen this before. You can get over it temporarily. I mean, again, I've said this is probably not the easiest one to short. It is lagging, and so you might argue it's the best one, but I might also argue at this point it could chop around too. Some of the other names, if you nail the top, they might be straight line jumpers. Costco, we talked about reshorting this. I'm waiting. I like the Tuesday of OPEX to really get into things. The only things I really did today were Intel, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs. Those were the shorts because I like the levels. Now I know financials are carrying the brunt of all this crap. FedEx is another one I'm keeping an eye on, right? Watching the 20-day once it breaks. Good night. Caterpillar, we talked about what? Failing, then dropping back. Man, if it can get that 200-day, 20-day cross, Nucor, we've talked about the mid-150s. Be nicer if it's a little higher. It's hard to short there. VALE, we talked about these names chopping around. Not a lot to say. Holding above the 200-day. Copper, Arrow, this thing has just been a nightmare. Bludgeon. Don't know what to say. CCJ, got to give it credit. Holding up really well. Again, I personally, this is where people are like, oh, you're wrong. I'm like, define wrong. Because again, I would rather buy this on a dip at some point when the market gets throttled. And if it doesn't dip, then that's the outlier. That's the outlier. Sometimes that's going to happen. I don't want to bet on outliers. It gets really hard. It's really hard to bet on outliers. And maybe they're up because of the Friday information they had about Brookfield. I can't remember asset management. Maybe it was that something, or not asset, but they had something in the news. Someone, if they want to correct me, they can. CF, Mosaic, NTR. Again, we love ag names because people got to eat. But at some point, we talked about them bouncing, being oversold, some of them, but I don't trust them. I'm going to be patient. Again, when they throw the baby out with the bathwater, they sell everything off, the VIX explodes, the market crashes, or whatever, corrects, whatever you want to call it, then it's time to buy. XLF, another name. Here's where it's getting really interesting, right? I posted the weekly charts. You're at the 100-day. You've got a very clear reference here. Do we break over it? If it does, you're out. And if it doesn't, good. Could it chop around? Maybe. This is where I like JP Morgan, right? It's gone from 135 up to 146 in a straight line. Now you have a doji, maybe the 100-day. I don't see much upside from here, right? Morgan Stanley, again, this thing is just a perennial pooper. It's chopping around. Bank of America, we talked about this chopping around, fills the gap. Goldman Sachs shorted this today. It made sense to me. Watching these wicks, maybe the 200-day, again, channel high. Could it get there? Always possible. But we've got a multi-day range. I'll use the range high for now. And if we break over it, I'll watch the 200-day. Keep it simple, stupid. Because again, we've been watching the banks lag. Look at the KRE. The market's going, this is going down. Something's wrong. Banks do not look good. They're lagging, and they're going to take the brunt of all this stuff. I'm telling you, at some point, they catch the brunt of all the mistakes the feds make. XBI, we talked about this chopping around. It's going to be all over the place. Be careful. Let's get into solar because some people are talking about it bottoming. Again, it could bounce. Government subsidies, good luck. Maybe when the budget passes, it bounces. I wouldn't trust this stuff. Sedge, I'd probably look more to short it. ANPH, they all look the same. Just garbage. First Solar really was hoping this thing would pop at some point to short. It's not. HYG, we talked about the 74 levels. Keep an eye on it. Let's end it with some oil and gas. Now, oil short-term oversold, not surprised. Held the 200 on the USO. Again, I don't trust oil. Neither do I trust natural gas. Again, I like these long-term when the feds pivot. But right now, it's hard to say for sure. XOP, we like the short on this. We talked about the drip up here when the XOP was up double topping. Again, it's oversold. Could it bounce a little bit? Absolutely. ExxonMobil is going to start producing lithium. Good for them. But again, if you short it up here like we talked about, don't be surprised if it gets a little oversold and bounces. Same thing with MPC, all these names, right? Gets to the channel, can it bounce a little bit? Valero got down to the range lows. This one looks weaker to me, making new lows, but it doesn't mean it couldn't get back up to the 126s, right? Just keep an eye on it. Oxy, this one's just been chopping around, nothing too much. Give yourself grace on this one. EQT, people talking about buying in the 39s. Okay, we'll see what happens down here. It's broken channel. You've got a multi-step top, right? So what happens if it breaks the multi-step low? Then it could get slammed. Flex LNG will end it there. And also, too, a little rant. All right, we like this name in time because I think we'll be natural gas exporters. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Again, this is OPEX, CHOPEX. Do not be surprised. Know your levels. And if we dump, great. And if we rise, stop out. And if your levels, it's keep it simple, stupid. You've got budget talk. Z speaking, coming to America. The royal, you know what, is clean, Your Highness. Yes, he's coming to America. You have CPI tomorrow. You've got Wednesday retail sales, PPI core, Empire Manufacturing, business inventories, a lot of stuff. You have AMAT, Cisco, Target, Walmart, Baba this week. You've got some decent little names doing earnings. So when in doubt, please be careful. Maybe tomorrow's turnaround Tuesday. Maybe it's Wednesday, mayhem. Or if you need, watch the videos on options expiration and the Back to Basics series. And if you're doing any real estate, I appreciate some of you guys have reached out for help for referrals. Let me find you an agent somewhere. Do not go blindly into this. Do not go into this without an agent, talking to the listing agent and giving away all of your important details. They will try to screw you over. Please work with somebody, a pro. Work with a pro. It makes such a huge difference. All right, always here to help. Holler at your boy. I will talk to you guys and gals soon. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.